Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Big Money Talks. I might sound a little weird today. I might be getting sick. I hope that's not the case. Don't need to get sick right now. Um, so, second week since WrestleMania, and we've had quite a few things go down. A big superstar shakeup happened this week. Some people moved that I wish didn't move from the shows that they were originally on, like The Miz, for example. But I think that somebody who I'm very happy moved, Kevin Owens, I think he might be filling the void that The Miz left, and Maurice. Um, so that should be interesting. Uh, we had a humongous segment on Raw with an ambulance being flipped over. And I just find that was, you know, that was really funny. I don't really understand the booking of Roman Reigns. Um, it's so weird to me. Like um, you just had him beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and then comes out to this incredibly unbelievable reaction. Like I couldn't even explain what type of reaction that was. And then you have him the next week in a sit down interview in the back. And I didn't really understand that. But having Braun come out of nowhere and just start beating him up like that to get the crowd to cheer for him, I didn't really get that. Like, the crowd wasn't going to cheer for him. That's the point. That's where I'm going with this. The crowd is not going to cheer with him. They're going to boo him and they're going to cheer Braun because they want Braun to do what Braun is doing. But then you're going to continue to paint him as the heel and Roman as the babyface. So I don't understand that. But it was a really incredible segment. I, I actually, at one point, I really thought that Braun flipped the ambulance by himself, but then I kind of had to get talked down from that ledge. Like, he probably had a little bit of help. I saw somewhere somebody heard a crane, assisting him with the flipping, but whatever. He probably didn't do it by himself, but it still led to an incredible moment that I will not soon forget. So I'm very interested to see where that feud goes. Unfortunately, what's probably going to end up happening is Braun's going to lose, which shouldn't be the case, but that's just what's going to end up happening. So let's talk who moved where. We had on Raw, we had the Revival. We've had Mickie James and Alexa Bliss. We had Dean Ambrose. We had The Miz. We had the Drifter from NXT. I don't really know what he's doing there. I don't really like him that much. And we had Kurt Hawkins, who had to quickly face the facts and got knocked out by Big Show. Over on SmackDown, we had New Day is coming. We had a vignette for New Day. Not exactly New Day yet, which I think is that's interesting. To do a kind of like build up some anticipation. I think that was pretty good. We had Ty Dillinger for the 10 chants, and the 10 chants are never going to go away. I really believe that, and I'm okay with it for now. Hopefully, I won't get tired of it, but I really think that that was a good thing to do. We had Sami Zayn, great. We had Kevin Owens, fantastic. We had the Shining Stars. That was a surprise, and I think that they're gonna do some interesting things on SmackDown Live. They didn't really have um, that Shining Stars quality with them when they took out American Alpha. I don't know if that's going to be a thing going forward or if that's going to be a one-time thing. I would hope it's a thing going forward because they look pretty badass. So I hope it's a thing going forward. We had Nakamura come up last week, and we had Tamina, which was another surprise. I was not expecting Tamina, and Charlotte, who I kind of figured was going to come up. So we had all that going on, and will that be the end? I don't know. I mean, they didn't definitively say that now this is the set rosters for Raw and SmackDown. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. So a big story this week was JBL. I'm mentioning this now because a tweet came up on my feed right now of a guy holding a sign right behind JBL that said JBL bullied me, and he got escorted out of the arena. So JBL bullied Mauro Ranallo and has bullied many other people, announcers, wrestlers, and the like, and a lot of stories have been coming out about that. And now the crowd was chanting for JBL to be fired last night, or during the breaks. I thought that was very classy that they did that during the breaks and not while the show was going on. Because that the Raw crowd would have definitely done that as performers were wrestling in the ring. So kudos to the SmackDown crowd for that. As for my take on JBL's story, look, I'm not a fan of people really getting fired, out of nowhere, because I've been fired out of nowhere and I don't really like that. So I wouldn't really wish that on somebody else. However, I do think he should be removed from commentary. I do think that he could play a big role in the Be a Star campaign. But I mean, I don't really want to brush up on that because that's a big topic for people, and I don't want to. I could talk for an hour on this, and I really don't want to. So, what else happened? So we had Finn Balor made his return on Raw this week in a singles match against Jinder Mahal, and guess what happened? If you don't know, Finn Balor got a concussion. Yeah, Finn Balor got a concussion from one of Jinder's very stiff forearms. Very stiff forearm. Right to the jaw, and that just rocked him. And as soon as that happened, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe he's standing up right now, because that was unnecessary. And I guess that's also the problem with WWE when it comes to their big stars. They have to face a lower card act when they return from an injury, or if there's nothing to do on a 3-hour Raw, which is often, unfortunately. And I really don't think that was even a match that needed to happen. And it's a bad thing that it did happen now, because now Finn Balor is concussed right after coming back from a 7-month-long, injury status. He couldn't be on TV for 7 months. Now he's back, He wrestles with Seth Rollins. The next week he gets concussed. Like, what is that about? That's ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm very upset about that. And then Ginger comes on SmackDown, and did I mention him? Actually, I don't think I mentioned him as one of the people that came in. But yeah, Ginger also came on SmackDown, and then he was on Talking Smack later, saying that he was like this big deal, and that was kind of ballsy, I have to say. After you just concussed one of the biggest stars in the business, kind of ballsy to say, but yeah. So I hope that Finn, comes back soon. I hope he recovered well, and I hope that he does not get put in a match like that, especially since it seemed like Bray was going to start feuding with him. So hopefully everything works out there. Hopefully. What else do we have? We had uh, Alexa Bliss came on to Raw, and Mickey James did right after her. I thought that was interesting. It's kind of like she wanted to get away from all the drama on SmackDown Live, and then here comes Mickey James, who she hired as La Luchadora to attack Becky, and then quickly turned on her, and now they could be going at it very soon on Raw. That'll be interesting. What was very interesting about that segment was that it seemed that Sasha was going to turn on on Bailey, which is something that I've been waiting for. And then they decided to not do that and have Alexa come out and then have them be buddy buddy again. So hopefully Bailey realizes that Sasha is not the right person to be hanging out with, and they decide to make that turn, because I was waiting for that, and we're just gonna get it. And then the classic wrestling thing where something big is going to happen, like someone's either going to turn or somebody is about to get fired, and then all of a sudden they get interrupted and they just completely drop that. So I don't understand that. I guess it works for certain storylines, but I was hoping that we would get the turn, and we didn't get it. Hopefully we get it soon down the line. So we had the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys have been very, very interesting addition to the Raw roster since WrestleMania. It's kind of funny. There's a Twitter account. I believe it's called uh, at at Total Divas EP, at Total Divas EPS. TDE Wrestling is their name. They do mainly a lot of GIFs and pictures of the shows, of the whole thing. I think they just started with Total Divas, but then they moved on to Raw and SmackDown, and they do fantastic GIFs. I love them. You should follow them if you don't. At Total Divas EPS. I'm just looking at the page now. They have really great GIFs. They did a GIF of the Hardy Boys where Matt gets up on the ring and he does like 5 different gimmicks of his all at once. He does the delete, and he does Matt Hardy, the symbol, which is the 3 fingers up in the air. And then I'm trying to find it because it was really funny. The tagline on that. What I have to mention was one of the biggest surprises of the week. Kevin Owens shaving his beard. That's like, wow, where did that come from? I kind of like that because that is shows like a different type of a character change. And I've talked before about how I love when a character completely changes it up when they're going heel or they're going face. Um, like my perfect example was Sheamus. When Sheamus came back, he had different hair, different beard, just like a totally different look, and then he had that new music. So I really like stuff like that. Same with now Kevin Owens, where he's kind of getting into this darker character and more corporate too, which I found interesting. For them to do that on SmackDown, I wonder if that means that we're going to see some more of Triple H on SmackDown. I don't know. So, and what is going to even become of that little mini evolution stable between Triple H, Kevin Owens, and Samoa Joe now that they're on separate brands? I don't know. But so, yeah, so TDE Wrestling, Total Divas apps, they did this gif of Matt Hardy. He gets up on the rope and he does the wonderful, like that big arm, like he's about to hug somebody. And then he does the Matt Hardy fingers up in the air. And then he does the delete. It's so funny. I didn't catch it when he was doing it live, but I think it's so funny. And that was tweeted to Matt Hardy. And then Matt had this tweet. He said that forces within my core are pulling me in different directions. It's quite tumultuous. The most powerful force will eventually emerge. I'm really interested. I'm so excited to see them, Jeff and Matt, on the Raw roster, and I can't wait to see where this goes because that could be really exciting. So the Miz came out to start Raw, and he had John Cena's stuff. That was interesting. With Maurice playing Nikki Bella. And then Dean Ambrose comes out. And, I'm not a big fan of the wacky lunatic maggle Dean Ambrose, but I think it worked well this week. I'm glad that he brought the Intercontinental Championship over to Raw because right now there needs to be a top title on Red Brand because the red belt is not there. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. The top title won at WrestleMania from Goldberg is not there and probably won't be there for a while. I don't know why they had to do that, but okay. Not gonna mention that anymore. So I thought that was a fun segment. But the problem is that it came at the expense of Miz losing, and I don't want Miz to lose because I don't want him to get knocked down from where he was on SmackDown Live. And it seems like that's starting to happen, and I hope that that's not the case. Don't want that to happen because I really enjoyed Miz on SmackDown, and I'm hoping that we don't get that. It's not that. I'm sorry, I got that confused. Kevin Owens faced Dean Ambrose and lost at the expense of Kevin Owens. That's what I meant to say. The Miz, I'm trying to remember actually what happened to the Miz. Did they have a? Yeah, they did. Yeah. Dirty Deeds. Yeah, that's what happened. Dirty Deeds happened and took out the Miz. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen because then I'm getting all see now because you see this is what happens now. It's hard to really talk about this unless it's right in front of you because multiple people on multiple shows. So I'm getting my stuff confused. Miz was on Raw, but Sami Zayn fought him on Raw and then came to SmackDown the next night. I got that confused. And then Kevin Owens was on Raw, faced Dean Ambrose, and then came to SmackDown the next night. So let's talk about SmackDown, since that's the one that I seem to remember the most. Uh, Kevin Owens started SmackDown, which was fantastic. He got a great pop. And then Corbin comes out, Baron Corbin, because he feels that he deserves a shot at the United States Championship since he beat the Intercontinental Championship the week before, Intercontinental Champion. And then, surprise, Sami Zayn comes out, and Kevin Owens' reaction to Sami Zayn coming out was fantastic. He was just like, his face just sunk. He's like, what the hell is this jerk doing here? He shouldn't be here. Um, and then later on, which I really enjoyed, was him playing off of what Miz was doing with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, where the management is trying to bring him down, and Kevin says at one point that Daniel Bryan didn't want to bring him over to provide for his family, in the original draft back in July. And so I'm really excited for that to be happening, because I think that they need since Miz is gone now, they need another management is bringing me down storyline. So I'm very happy that we got that right off the bat. And I'm hoping that they continue with that. And Miz, and see, I'm saying Miz now, and Kevin Owens goes back to that place where, as Goldie in the chat says, thank you very much, Goldie, his NXT role of just being an absolute dick and a douchebag. And the management, because, he might not be getting exactly what he wants, is bringing him down, and he has to fight the machine. I really think that that's a great thing to do with Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens can pull that off magnificently, as we just saw last night. So I'm really, really happy to see that. So what else? Let's see. Yeah, so Goldie was saying before, the Drifter, as I mentioned, I don't really get the Drifter. I didn't really watch much of him, and I know that he was injured for a little while on NXT. But I just am like, I don't know. Yeah, he was drifting. I get that's kind of his thing. I understand. He drifted on to Raw and didn't really do much of anything else. But all right, that's fine. The Drifter drifting. That's interesting. Well, so this has been week 2 of incredible reactions on SmackDown. And I think you know where I'm going with this. With Shinsuke Nakamura. And he had, again, it wasn't just a SmackDown after WrestleMania crowd giving him a big reaction. He had another huge babyface reaction last night against Dolph Ziggler, which I found interesting. I don't know why they picked Dolph Ziggler as his first feud. I mean, I wish they could have kept Miz on for another week or two, just so they could have like a match, and then he could be, he could get a definitive win, and then Miz could move this to Raw. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But man, Nakamura gets these amazing reactions. Like, it's so exciting to see him. Really, really, really happy. to see him, and I didn't see most of his stuff on Japan in NJPW because I'm mainly WWE. I'll see some of like I know some people. Like I know Will Ospreay. I know Ricochet. I know some people from Evolve. I know Matt Riddle. I know Ethan Page. I know some people, but I don't really have the time to get into other things right now. I only have the time right now to watch WWE. But hopefully, in the near future, I'm talking like 2 months from now, I'll be done with school. It'll be summertime. I can get into New Japan. I can get into Evolve, Progress. I really would like to do that. I'm a big fan of Jimmy Havoc. I would like to see more of Jimmy Havoc. There's supposed to be that WWE deal with Progress and ICW where they're supposed to be on the network, but I don't know exactly when that's supposed to happen because um, the last I remember, Vince was starting to not want to do that anymore. So I'm hoping that he ends up doing it because it would be very beneficial for me and beneficial for Progress and ICW. So yeah, I'm hoping that we get to see that on the network soon because for the summertime, I definitely want to get into more indie promotions and New Japan. So get on that WWE. Really want to see that happen. Mojo came out and had a match, and he had a match with Jinder, who hindered Fender. As I saw somebody on. I think it was uh, the James Vanderbeek parody Twitter account. I don't remember exactly what his name is on there because he changes it a lot. It's very funny Twitter account if you don't follow it. Jinder hindered Fender. I think that was very funny. But then he got hindered by Minder in Mojo Rawley, and he got hindered by Gronk Hinder. That doesn't make sense. But yeah, I really don't want to see Gronk on my TV anymore. I'm tired of that. I don't want to see that. And I also don't want to see Jinder much ever since he concussed Finn Balor. But I think that Mojo did a good favor for me, and Gronk did a good favor by throwing his drink in Jinder's face. But I don't want to see them anymore. I'm probably gonna not pay attention to Mojo. So if you're a fan of Mojo and you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but Mojo is just too much for me. I can't take it. Too much energy and too much everything. I just can't stand them. What else happened? I know other things happened that I should talk about. AJ, well, yeah. So I wanted to just mention AJ Styles. It seems that he's not a full babyface, which is good. I didn't want him to really be like a full-on babyface, but rather be like a tweener, kind of like what he is now. So I'm happy that he came out and he's still being announced as the face that runs the place, which I think is good for his character right now. So he's appreciative of Shane and Daniel Bryan, but at the same time, he's still fighting baby faces. So I'm glad that he is in this position right now, and he just like Shinsuke, he gets the top reactions on SmackDown. So I'm very excited. I really hope I'm not getting sick. I know it probably sounds like I'm getting sick, and I kind of feel like I'm getting sick, so I'm going to have to remedy this with a lot of medicine as soon as I get off of here. But yeah, AJ, he gets humongous reactions on SmackDown, as Shinsuke does, and I'm very happy for that. Um, so aside from that, I mean, there wasn't really anything else that I can uh, recall. Shane brought out all the women and then introduced Tamina and Charlotte, and he kind of did a little bit of trolling with the audience, saying exactly what Charlotte is, and then introducing Tamina, which I thought was kind of funny. Good for you, Shane, for doing that. But then that kind of came at the expense of Tamina because nobody really wanted to see her there. They were expecting Charlotte. But I'm pretty sure Tamina's a heel anyway, so they should be booing her, so that didn't really bother me as much. I'm very excited to see Charlotte on SmackDown. I hope that, well, obviously she'll probably get shot right to the title picture. And seeing her and Becky again, that'll be fun. As well as seeing her with new people in Carmella and Naomi. Has she ever faced? Oh no, she did face Naomi when they did that #Divas Revolution angle. So she's faced Naomi before. But yeah, I'm interested in that. And then we also got, oh my goodness, I was just going to mention Lana because we had a vignette in a Emelina style for Lana, but we also have Rusev on SmackDown. How could I forget that? Big Bartholomew from Southpaw Regional Wrestling. That's going to be really fun. I can't wait for Rusev to come back. And I'm interested in seeing what they do with Lana also. It seems like she's going to be wrestling now. But is she going to be kept away from Rusev? I would imagine not, because they're on the same brand. So, I mean, I didn't really understand why they kept Maurice as a strictly, managerial valet type of a role with Miz, and didn't have him. I didn't have her rather, like fighting for the championship. Wouldn't it have been interesting to see Maurice with the women's championship, and then back when Miz had the Intercontinental Championship? I think that would have been really fun. But I hope that they keep Lana and Rusev together while Rusev fights for the U.S. Championship and maybe even the top title, the WWE title. And I hope that they keep them together and they both go for, their respective championships and win them and hold them together. I think that'll be really exciting. So yeah, so I just mentioned the WWE Championship, which is held by Randy Orton. But that's easy to forget about this week since he just kind of had a throwaway match with Eric Rowan, which had Bray come out in the end and talk about the House of Horrors match, which I am interested in. But I'm not interested in seeing Eric Rowan face the champion like immediately and for no reason, and then just attack him after, and then that's it. That didn't really do anything for me. So I'm kind of happy they got that out of the way quickly early in the night. And I actually even forgot about it until I mentioned the WWE title. So I'm not really pleased with that. I'm hoping that they get Randy out of that. And, once the House of Horrors match happens, maybe he'll finally face AJ Styles, and AJ Styles will get the championship back. But that should be interesting. we're coming up to 35 minutes, around the time I'd like to stop. And I find myself with nothing else to say, because if something else did happen on Raw and SmackDown, I forgot. Which means I guess it wasn't really that important, or it wasn't that important to me. Uh, so I think now is a good place to stop. I'll mention quickly the uh, the three-way match that main evented SmackDown last night, which had a fantastic ending of a whole bunch of sequences into AJ Styles getting the pin on Sami Zayn. I'm really happy for AJ Styles to be going for the U.S. title, because I think that AJ and Kevin Owens will have a great match. And that's pretty much it. So, thank you for watching or listening while you do other things to my second episode of Big Money Talks. I'm really enjoying doing this. Thank you to Goldie in the chat for providing some great commentary. Not the little Golden Girls quip that I'm going to quickly mention and forget about. I'm hoping that Finn comes back soon. I really don't want to see him out for more than a week or two tops, especially since we have a pay-per-view for Raw coming in 3 or 4 weeks, Payback. I'm interested to see where the call-ups go. Dillinger and Nakamura, especially Nakamura. We'll see where the Drifter goes. Happy for Revival. And I'm interested in seeing New Day on SmackDown as well. Maybe they'll break them up. Maybe Big E will go heel. And I hope that Kofi recovers, too, because Kofi had to get surgery. And he'll be out for a little while, so I hope Kofi recovers as well. And that's it. Like last week, I didn't have a closer planned. And, usually I relied on my good friend Alex Briggs to say something for me to hit stop broadcast. But like last week, I guess I will just also say this week, bye for now.